Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Nate.
And today, we decided that as Mike went and discussed something that took place on the platform formerly known as Twitter, we would also discuss something that I think started in Twitter and then moved off everywhere, of essentially what the Bible says is the best answer for would you rather be alone with a bear or a man in the woods? Now, you probably think the Bible says nothing of the sort.
Well,
but the Bible mentions the word bear many, many times, largely about sword bearers and armor bearers, and I can't bear this. And there was a section in Job when they discussed Orion and the bear and other constellations, but it does mention the animal on multiple occasions.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's start with the first one, I guess.
Yes, the first one that gives the definitive answer that...
Would you rather be stuck in the woods with a man or a bear? Presuming that you're a woman, I think, because I think I wouldn't technically be with a man in the woods. I would simply be a man in the woods if I was in the woods alone. But... Mm-hmm. Anyways...
And I found the perfect answer that explains why the vast majority of women are correct in their response in the book of Proverbs, number 17, verse 12.
All right, so here we go. This is a whole section on the advantages of prudence. Well, it comes from a whole section. I'm not reading the whole section because it doesn't all pertain to bears. But it does say here in verse 12, "It is better to meet a bear robbed of her whelps than a fool trusting in his own folly."
So, for every single guy who's like, I could get out of these random woods, so I should help you.
You'd be better off with a mama bear that is currently deprived of her baby bears and is not happy about it. Presumably not happy about it.
Well, although there's only been 100 and some, deaths by bear in North America in the last century, the top 3 reasons why you get killed by a bear includes you mess with the cubs. Because I learned whenever I went up to the UP that the number 1 rule is if you see a bear cub alone,
you stay away from it. Mama's around somewhere, and the last place you want to be is in between her and her baby.
So even in the Bible, it's like, even the angry bear is a better choice in this.
Than a foolish man, yes.
And then of course we have the next section that explains that one angry bear is good at getting rid of at least 21 of the annoying men in these woods. Which of course is our favorite story about bears in the Bible.
I do love this section.
And our favorite story about baldness in the Bible.
Yeah.
Which is found in 2 Kings 2, 23 through 24. Although, as we are, of course, reading the Dewey Reams, it's found in 4 Kings 2.
Their naming of books is a little off. But
there's no books of Samuel, there's just Kings.
Yeah. Which is fine, because as a friend of ours has been known to point out, Samuel's story is pretty much done by the time you get to the end of 1 Samuel. So why is it called 2 Samuel?
I don't know. Moses wrote that he died, and if you believe that he wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, and here's where I was buried. So, I mean, it's not...
he may have had a really choice spot lined up. When I go, bury me here. Anyways, 2 Kings, chapter 2, verses 23 through 24. "And he went up from thence to Bethel. And as he was going up," by the way, this is Elisha, who we're speaking of. As he was going up, by the way, little boys came out of the city and mocked him, saying, "Go up, thou bald head! Go up, thou bald head!" And looking back, he saw them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 bears out of the forest, and tore from thence and tore of the 42 boys. And from thence, and 25 was just him going up to Mount Carmel, and then back to Samaria.
Yes.
But basically, a bunch of people went and insulted him about what the most literal translation would suggest was the fact that he had no hair on the top of his head. And he cursed them in the name of the Lord, and 2 bears killed all 42 of them.
Yes, and although this version doesn't do the best, because I like when they point out it's 2 she-bears, and it says young boys when the actual Hebrew word translates better to essentially their equivalent of teenagers. So it's a gang of 42 kids who clearly are taunting him and, making fun of him and probably up to, no good.
I mean, they are taunting a prophet of the Lord, and I think that qualifies them automatically for up to no good.
I mean, if it was a harmless thing,
he was relatively new as a prophet, so he might not have known that he was the prophet, but still, you're going up to random strange guys and insulting them. That's not good.
I'm just saying, in the original Hebrew, it's much more of a story of, these are the 42 guys that are the reason why women are like, no, the bear. I could scare off the bear. Most of the times the bear is fine with me. We'll be cool together.
and then finally, we're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 17, and we're going to read from verses 32 to 37.
Which we are only reading because this is the one thing that is, if you have the choice between the bear and a random person, and the random person is David, you are still out of luck because apparently David beats bear. And also, largely did a large quantity of the things that are the reason why women are like, I'd take the bear.
So, 17:32 through 37. And when he was brought to him, he said to him, let not any man's heart be dismayed in him. I, thy servant, will go, and I will fight against the Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to withstand this Philistine, nor to fight against him, for thou art but a boy, but he is a warrior from his youth. And David said to Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion or a bear, and took a ram out of the midst of the flock. And I pursued after them, and struck them, and delivered it out of their mouth. And they rose up against me, and I caught them by the throat, and I strangled and killed them. For I, thy servant, have killed both a lion and a bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be also as one of them. I will go now and take away the reproach of the people, for who is this uncircumcised Philistine who hath dared to curse the army of the living God? And David said, the Lord who delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with thee. But in fairness, David was, in most circumstances, not the sort of guy who would go and say, which would you rather be in the woods with, me or a bear?
Well, this is the young David, so we aren't discussing Bathsheba yet, because David is 100% the reason why women pick the bears. Not particularly David on himself, but, that attitude. However,
in this particular age, David was a stand-up guy.
It was only when he got, corrupt with power. So, in closing, the Bible has an answer. You pick a bear. Bear is better than guy. If you have to deal with up to 42 of the guys who are causing trouble, you pick 2 bears to solve the issue. You're only out of luck if the one guy is David, who apparently barehandedly fought a bear and a lion and then killed a giant. So your best bet in that case is to hope that your kid gets to be the king.
And given that most of these guys who are saying you should rather be in the woods with me than a bear are absolute strangers to you, I honestly ask the question of why would I want to be in the woods with a complete stranger who only says they have my best intentions?
I mean, I heard an interesting comment that pointed out that strangers tend to be helpful, so technically it would be better to be with a strange man than a person who's kind of, a little weird. However, in any case, I'm picking the bear.
I've listened to too much true crime to trust a strange man. I'm sorry.
Unless it's a polar bear. But then death will be quick.
Do not be caught in the woods with a polar bear. Those things are killing machines. They were made by God to kill things, and that is what they are good at.
But even then, they've only killed a couple people this last decade. And that's with us constantly going into their territory.
I'm going to presume that it's because most people will avoid the polar bear for the sake of their life.
Oddly, like, it's almost 50-50 between polar bears who've killed people in the wild and zoo polar bears.
Look, I learned long ago the rules of encountering a bear, right? If it's a black bear, you make yourself big. If it's a grizzly bear, you make yourself look dead. And if it's a polar bear, you say your prayers.
Yes. But there are no polar bears in the Bible, so.
Just saying.
And I don't have the information on any bears that happen to live in the Middle East. Because I don't think there are still any bears that live there. I imagine at one time they had to have bears. They're in the Bible, but like you don't hear about bears too much. And I didn't research that because most of the conversation was on North America, where you could be like, yes, bears killed 10 people in the last decade. They're averaging 1 a year.
Yes. Yes. Technically speaking, you're probably safer with a bear than with a shark.
I mean, cows kill more people than sharks.
I'm just saying.
I mean, with the shark, you're more likely to die because you're in the water.
You think you'd be more careful. You think you'd be more safe in the woods with the shark because the shark is going to be flopping around dying. But
yes, if you have an option in the woods, pick the shark because it can't breathe air.
But statistics would suggest that sharks have killed more people, have attempted to kill more people than bears.
I blame Discovery Channel's Shark Week. They should have made Cow Week. More likely to kill you, but not as entertaining.
Actually, I think they should do Cow Week. I think it would require them to stretch their creative flow just a little bit, right? I mean, how much interesting stuff can you do about cows? I'd argue you could do more than you think.
All right. So, anyway, go down below. Like this episode if you agree that now you have a biblical reason to insist the bears are better. Comment below with a strange animal that either you think is really deadly but actually isn't, or you think isn't but actually is.
Or
like
share a
hippos.
fun TV show idea involving cows. Non-fiction, though, because we're talking once again about Discovery Channel, so, you know.
And until next time,
remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
And share that love.